NBA chase or fade. So chase or fade these DFS and Sportsbook takes for tonight's NBA slate. We will start with a 5-game classic contest. That's where we're going to focus right now. Tonight, let's look at some of the top salaries. So LeBron James and the Lakers aren't off to the best start. You know, they appear to be broken. 3 games in, 1 and 2 to take on the Spurs. LeBron is banged up with ankle soreness, but is expected to play tonight. Like, the entire league is already questionable. Are you chasing LeBron at 9,400 and potentially some depressed ownership, or would you fade him for someone else with a top salary, Garion?
Yeah, well, I guess we should start by saying in the last 10 minutes, LeBron's gone from probable to questionable. So you never really want to see players moving the opposite direction like that, but there's still a lot of time before tip-off. However, even if he does play, I just don't think this is all that great a spot, especially considering some of the other star power we have on this slate. I mean, I'll never say LeBron's not viable on a slate, but when you've got Stephen Curry and Nikola Jokic and, you know, Julius Randle, just to name a few guys who I'd rather be spending money on, I don't think I'm going to fit LeBron into that many builds. And it's really just for the reasons that we all sort of worried about during the offseason, having him play next to a ball-dominant point guard like Russell Westbrook. His usage rate right now at 28.1% is the lowest it's been since his sophomore season. His 22.8% assist rate is the lowest of his career. Now, again, a 22.8% assist rate for a small forward, pretty amazing, but it's not that great for LeBron. So I just can't see myself spending up this amount of money, again, with the quality of player we have aside from LeBron on this slate.
Nick, what do you want to do here?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel like you have too many other elite options. You got Curry, you got Doncic, you got Jokic, you got Randall, you got even Anthony Davis, LeBron's teammate. All those guys are 9,200 or higher. So plenty of options if you don't trust LeBron James. I do think he probably plays in this game, you know, going from probable to questionable. We've seen LeBron do this. I think he was questionable for like an entire season, 2 seasons ago. He's always been one to kind of play up these minor injuries and make it seem like he's pushing through something that ultimately maybe isn't all that serious. So I do expect him to play, but that is something you have to factor in, that, you know, if he's playing at 90% and you're already worried that maybe he isn't looking quite like himself, especially as a distributor, like Garion said, there are just too many other options on this slate. You know, there are only 5 games, but plenty of elite guys to pivot to.
Ryan, you want him? You want the king in your lineup?
No, I don't. I'm fading a LeBron who's going to not really care about traveling to San Antonio and play Game 3 the whole season. And Garion just mentioned my big 3 that I'd rather start over LeBron, and they all cost more than him. Steph versus OKC, that game's going to be high scoring. Jokic versus Utah is a primetime game, the latest game that we have. And then Julius Randle literally does everything for the Knicks versus Philly, and Madison Square Garden is very back. So I'd rather play all 3 of those guys over a banged-up LeBron.
All right, let's talk about some value here. Nick, who's a value play that you're chasing today?
I like Alfred Şengün at 4,300 against Dallas tonight for Houston. He's got 26 DraftKings points in 2 of his first 3 games. He's not playing quite as many minutes as I had hoped. I think as the season goes on, he probably takes on a larger role for the Rockets as they, you know, eventually tumble down the Western Conference standings. But he's been right around 20 minutes so far on most nights, can offer points, rebounds, assists. He's got 7 steals through 3 games. He is turnover prone, however, so that is the one drawback. But I like Şengün at 4,300. You know, if you've been hot on DraftKings and you're feeling kind of a heat check, you know, pick between Isaiah Roby at 3,700, Mike Muscala at 3,500, and the rookie Jeremiah Robinson-Earl at 3,200. One of those guys I think is going to go off tonight. I don't know which of those 3. Derek Favors is out for rest. OKC is trying to get a look at some new center options. I think I would lean Robinson-Earl. He seems like the safest to me, which is crazy to say for a $3,200 player. But Isaiah Roby was a DNP CD in their last game, so it looks like he may have fallen out of favor already.
All right, Ryan, we need a value play.
I like the Şengün call. I've already fallen in love with him on Houston. That's a sexy pick. But Nick is kind of on the right track. I have Darius Bazley, though, who also can play center for OKC. Like he said, Favors is out. The Warriors like to play small ball. The only centers they got tonight are Bjelica and Draymond, and those are undersized centers. So I like Bazley being active, and he's only $5K, so it's kind of a pay-up versus the other guys that he said that can play center for OKC. But Bazley's going to get a lot of minutes tonight.
All right, Garion, value play.
Yeah, I really like Keldon Johnson. He's $5,200, and it's not often you can get a guy who's leading his team in usage rate like Johnson is. The Spurs pretty, balanced attack, I would say, through the first 3 games, but Johnson's still carrying a 26.3% usage rate. He scored 23.5 points per game his last 2 starts, and the Lakers are kind of the perfect DFS opponent so far this season. Not only do they have the 6th worst defensive rating in the NBA, they also operate at the 4th highest offensive pace. So there should be a lot of possessions in this game. And the Lakers just can't really defend. So I think Johnson and a lot of the Spurs, to be honest, in this mid-tier are in a really nice spot.
All right, guys, over on the DK Sportsbook, you can get close to even money on the Sixers to defeat the Knicks in Madison Square Garden tonight. So both teams 2-1 on the year. New York coming off a loss to O-Town. You chasing or fading the Sixers tonight, Garion?
I think I'm going to fade the Sixers and chase the Knicks. Bing bong, as it were. I just look at this Sixers team, and, first and foremost, much like LeBron, I guess we have to mention that Joel Embiid is questionable for this game, although I think Joel Embiid might be questionable every game this season. So, it's game 4. We haven't gotten quite tired of it yet, but the Sixers have had a really hard time covering on the road as an underdog. In fact, in their last 28 games in that scenario, they've covered 6 times. Conversely, the Knicks have covered 15 of their last 21 home games as the favorite. I really like Julius Randle tonight. I think he can just do a lot here. And, yeah, I'll side with the Knicks at home.
Okay, Ryan, who you siding with?
I'm also fading the Sixers. This game is at Madison Square Garden, and it's nuts. The Knicks fans have already had a taste for postseason basketball. So this season, right on the jump, they're already all in. And games on TV that you watch at Madison Square Garden feel different, like that overtime or super high-scoring close game against Boston the other night. That was incredible. And plus, the Knicks have a lot of bodies to throw at a banged-up Embiid now because Taj is back in. Nerlens Noel is upgraded to questionable. Mitch Robinson's a beast already this season. So not only do I like the matchups against their one stud in Embiid, but Julius Randle doing everything for them at Madison Square Garden. I'm chasing the Knicks.
Okay, Nick, you chasing or fading the Sixers?
We're going 3 for 3 here. I'm fading the Sixers, chasing the Knicks. New York's coming off of that fairly shocking loss to the Orlando Magic, who looked terrible before that game. But I think this is a really good spot for them to bounce back. Like Brian said, they're at home. There are very few teams that have a true home court advantage in the NBA during the regular season. And the Knicks are absolutely at the top of that list, especially when you're talking first week of the season, when a lot of crowds really aren't at their peak. MSG has been bringing it night to night. I think that won't change. Obviously, Embiid banged up. That's something that even if he was healthy, I think I still might chase the Knicks in this game. His backup, Andre Drummond, is banged up. Some of their guard depth is banged up. They obviously have not replaced what they've lost in Ben Simmons. This team is middle of the pack defensively so far, are the Sixers. They were number 2 last season. So luckily the offense has been really good. They've gotten some great shooting from some role players to help offset that. But without Simmons, that defense just hasn't been there. And I think that's going to be a problem against the Knicks, who are kind of right up there with a team like Atlanta as maybe one of the deepest teams, not only in the East, but in the entire NBA.
All right, Warriors and Thunder have the highest game total on the board tonight, sitting at 223.5 as we speak. So are you chasing or fading the over here, Garion?
I've got to fade the over. This really has nothing to do with Golden State. They score wonderfully. They have the second highest pace in the NBA, but how can you honestly expect Oklahoma City to keep up their end of the bargain in this game? Right now they have the second worst offensive rating in basketball. They're scoring less than 95 points per 100 possessions. They operate at the 4th slowest pace in the NBA. It's just hard to see a scenario where they score 105, 106 points. And in such a scenario, you're going to need Golden State to score 120, 125 to hit the over here. That's not necessarily unlikely, but it's not something I really want to bank on, especially considering there's blowout potential here. Like, how do we know Steph Curry is going to play his full allotment of minutes? Maybe he plays 28 and doesn't have to touch the court in the 4th quarter. So I just don't think Oklahoma City supplies enough for me to feel confident in taking this over.
All right, you taking the over, Nick?
Absolutely not. Garion took the words right out of my mouth. This total is already up 1.5 over where it's at earlier this morning, and I still like the under quite a bit. That makes me feel even more comfortable I don't think the Warriors are going to have any trouble scoring in this game. Should be a pace-up game for OKC. Like Garion said, they're bottom 5 early on in pace, but I just don't see Oklahoma City scoring enough points here. They've scored 86, 91, and 103 so far in their 3 games. And that 103, a lot of those came in garbage time. That game was pretty much over, like all 3 of their games have been, early in the second half. So I think this is a night where they could once again be held under 100 points. And, even if Golden State has a great first half and puts the game away and, Golden State gets to like 120, 125, I just don't trust the Thunder to hold up their end of the bargain here.
Do you trust the Thunder to hold up their end of the bargain, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm chasing this. I'm going over. A lot of teams play up to the pace of the Warriors. The Warriors control the pace almost every single game. The Thunder are young. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is remembering how to play basketball. Last game, he had 29, 6, and 8. And I like the way he looked. It does have a blowout warning, a blowout factor, and you guys said it. Who knows how many quarters Steph's going to play. But the guys that the Warriors are going to give time to, Jordan Poole has never seen a shot that he doesn't like. He's going to be chucking. I think both teams are going to be running up and down, chucking the ball up. I like Josh Giddey, too, for Oklahoma City. I think he has a lot of potential. But it was close for me, but I'm going over.
All right, guys, Slate approved pick. Need it. Favorite DFS play or sportsbook bet? Or, hell, give us both. Ryan.
Or one.
All right, I'm going DFS, my favorite DFS play. And this is kind of, I'm a narrative guy.
Ooh.
I like narratives.
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray.
Oh, no.
Dude, what a cliffhanger.
Literally,
like,
what a cliffhanger.
No, I need to know. I need to know.
Why? All
right.
right, move on.
Nick, next.
I need to know what the answer is there.
Me too,
I like
dude.
the Warriors. I'm going to the DK Sportsbook. We just talked about this game. I love the Warriors to cover 8.5 at OKC. Thunder have lost all 3 games by double digits. They're the second worst defense. They're the second worst offense. They lost by 33 to the lowly Houston Rockets over the weekend. They have a minus 22.3 net rating. That is the worst in the league by nearly 8 points per 100. I see no reason not to roll with Steph and the Warriors tonight.
All right, Garion, help us out.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the DFS play. I just like Julius Randle. I think Nick mentioned earlier he's doing everything for the Knicks right now, and he is. He's been absolutely incredible. 28, 11, and 6, 33% usage rate. Anytime he's below $10,000, I think he's just an automatic play at this point.
All right, Ryan,
We're
back
hearing
very
that
quick.
you're back.
So you said DeJounte Murray, and then you froze, and we're like, tell us why.
So you guys did hear DeJounte Murray.
Yep.
He's my narrative guy. $7,300 versus LA. He's a clutch sports guy. I have this narrative that all these young guys in the league that play against LeBron and AD bring their A game, especially because he's clutch sports. AD, LeBron, clutch guys. DeJounte Murray is going to go nuts tonight. That's just my narrative, street narrative.